Raphael and Da Vinci are two great masters from art history, and they would have had very competing ideas about using the diamond guide at level 3. Raphael would be in favour because this is a composition he has used very effectively, and Da Vinci would be against it. I feel certain that Da Vinci would approve of the other aspects of the diamond guide. He is one of the many artists that influenced and shaped its creation. But he felt this particular style of composition was awful. In his notebooks, Da Vinci mentions that the practice of creating this kind of composition has been widely used in chapels. During this lecture, when I consider his suggestions, I am going to talk in religious terms. I'm not a Christian, although I do understand that when religious art is created, the concept is important. To a lot of people, it isn't an aesthetic, it's a message. I hope to convey my respect for all religions and to Da Vinci's ideas. Da Vinci specifically refers to compositions that place two scenes on top of each other in the same image, and he sees this practice as wrong. I imagine that Da Vinci would have seen good and bad examples of this kind of composition, because it was so widely used. I think one of the mistakes that could be made is a lack of central elements. This is a portrait-shaped canvas, and as such, it requires subject matter along that central line. If an artist creates the top half of the image using the rule of thirds layout or something similar, and then uses the rule of thirds again to create the bottom half of the image, the results will be terrible. The image will just look like two pictures that have been stuck together. When an artist creates an image using this kind of composition, they must see it as one image that has two parts, and those two parts must be joined together, and that can only be done by centralizing parts of the composition. It's a portrait image, not two landscape images. I'm sure there are many, many bad examples of this kind of composition, and I'm sure it horrified Da Vinci. However, this isn't Da Vinci's main criticism. In his notebooks, Da Vinci argues that when you create a piece of artwork, all of the main elements should be at the viewer's eye level. There should be one main area of focus within an image. If you divide the image into two sections, then it will have two areas of focus. This is an accurate observation of what's occurring. There are two focal points within these images. Da Vinci suggests that a better alternative would be to have an image where everyone is on the same level. Using his suggestion does create some problems. In these types of biblical images, it will place people and angels on the same level, and this could look good aesthetically, but it doesn't portray angels as they are seen within the Christian faith. This type of composition is a conceptual composition that aims to portray people and angels as being on a different level. Da Vinci's suggestion would erode the concept that's being expressed. He also talks about how two scenes could be represented as one in the foreground and the other in the background. This is an excellent suggestion if the two scenes have a loose relationship conceptually. If one image is an episode in the life of a saint and the other section of the image depicts another moment in the life of a different saint, these two images could be depicted in the same image, with one scene happening in the foreground and the other scene in the distance. As Da Vinci suggests, aspects from nature could fill the gaps: hills, birds, and trees. This isn't a bad idea because conceptually it would be saints surrounded by God's creations. However, Da Vinci's suggestion doesn't work if conceptually there is a strong relationship between the two scenes. For example, an image showing a relationship between heaven and hell wouldn't work as an image that used distance in the way that Da Vinci suggests. Having an image where hell is in the foreground and heaven is in the distance, it changes the concept. It suggests there is a pathway from hell to heaven. It suggests that the path to heaven is difficult. It might suggest that earth is hell because the viewer is positioned in hell and heaven is far into the distance. If you create an image where heaven is placed on top of hell, it portrays them as separate. It makes no judgment about where the viewer currently stands, other than to suggest some kind of choice that can only be made now. If heaven and hell are portrayed as being part of the same world, then that decision can be made after your death because it implies it's possible to travel from one to the other. Da Vinci's suggestions make it very difficult to portray certain concepts, especially some religious ideas. Da Vinci is right, this kind of composition creates two focal points for the viewer, and he views this as being negative even though it portrays Christian ideas in a more accurate way. Having two focal points within the image creates a particular kind of effect. In an image of heaven and hell or heaven and earth, the viewer must look up to heaven. The viewer must move their gaze from one focal point to the other, and that means looking up to heaven, angels, God, and Christ. Conceptually, this is the teachings of the Christian faith, and this kind of composition accurately conveys those teachings. The architecture of churches is designed in the same way. Many of those buildings are stunning, and when you walk inside, it's impossible not to look up at those beautiful ceilings. The Christian faith says that heaven is above you, and then they portray this by making that space as beautiful and as aesthetically pleasing as possible. I wonder if Da Vinci's criticism came from a lack of understanding of the Christian faith. Although I think that might be a bit harsh. Da Vinci has a particular notion of what is aesthetically pleasing. It could simply be a matter of taste. Da Vinci is an analytical man who observed the world as a way to better understand it. It was a form of scientific study, and he found something interesting and compelling in the smallest of details. His entire personality seems to clash with a composition that is well suited to drama, fantasy, and miracles. Because he dislikes the composition, it raises questions about what's the most important thing, the aesthetics of a piece or the ideas behind it. Da Vinci's criticism suggests that he would choose the aesthetics over the concept. These types of compositions, they don't raise the same dilemma for me. I find this type of composition aesthetically pleasing, and I don't feel that aesthetics are being sacrificed in order to better portray a particular set of ideas. The artwork by Raphael and Bertoni is amazing. They are fine examples of what can be done with this type of composition. You've got to decide what's right for your own artistic practice.